Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys. It sound right, boys. It sound right, boys. It sound right, boy.
Ah, fuck, I did it again. What's good, people? Happy Tuesday. Thank you for joining me. What's up? What's up? My bad about last week. So what happened was a family I grew up with, neighbors my whole life. The mom passed away out of nowhere, and her funeral was on Tuesday, so I had to go to the funeral and all that. So just that whole thing. So I had to cancel the show last minute. But we back, baby. We back with one of our favorite guests ever, Dainjazone. Now, before we bring him in, Ron did ask a question. He said, need advice. Just sold a pair of JBL Eon 618 subs, replaced with only one QSC K118 sub, formed with 400 kids, 4 EKX 12 tops. This enough for the dance floor? Did I do wrong by selling lower power subs? So the EKX speakers are solid. They're really good speakers. I like those EVs a lot. And for 4 of them, with a sub, with the one sub, I mean, you're going to have plenty enough sound. They're going to hear the music. You're going to be able to get the job done. No problem. Is it my personal preference? No. Like I would, especially with the school dances and stuff, it's like it might be hip hop heavy, it might be EDM heavy, it might be a little bit of everything. I personally like to feel it in my balls, and you're not going to feel it in your balls with one little KS 118. You're not going to do it. You're not going to have enough low end. That's where you're going to be missing. You'll be able to command the crowd. You'll be able to play the music loud enough. You're going to be able to get the job done all day. But I mean, I'm a feel it in my balls kind of guy. So like, yeah, you always need subs personally, but that's personal preference too. I mean, some of you guys don't use subs. Some of you guys just rock tops, you know what I mean? And I mean, it's, whatever you like. You got to do what you like. What's up? Hi, Kevin. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to bring Dainjazone right on. I'm just excited to have him again. He was one of my favorite interviews ever, so we brought him back. So without further ado, make some noise for my man, DJ Dainjazone. We'll put up the applause. What's up?
What up?
How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much for coming back. I appreciate that. Make sure we're all
Thanks,
level
thanks for
here.
having
Yada
me.
yada yada. Because like we had you on before, and like I don't know, you do so much. There's a lot to talk about. You know, we could have like a 5 hour
Oh
podcast
yeah,
and still have shit to talk about. So like I feel like last time we talked a lot about, you know, because you have the Patreon where like you kind of give like the behind the scenes shit, and like we were talking a lot about
yeah,
just DJing now, and like, you know, and we'll definitely get to that a little later. But we didn't get to
yeah.
dive in to like history, war stories, you know, like all that shit. Because a lot of people don't realize, like, you know, your past too. You know what I mean? Like you, like for example, something I completely forgot about that I was bugging the other day. I was like, oh shit, that's right. You were the D in the Mickey D show. I forgot
Yeah,
all about that. You
yeah.
look different then for some reason. I don't know. Like I used to watch the show
Less gray
every.
hairs, that's for sure.
Oh man, like, dude, like you, because you guys would bring on every big DJ ever, and
Yeah,
and interview them and stuff. So I would like binge these back in the day. Like I remember when like Four Color Zach won the three style. You guys had him right on. He was doing
yeah,
the exact routines. Like he had the pad up there. And was doing the exact routines from the freestyle and breaking them down. I was like, oh my god, like that's when I discovered like, you know, tone plays and shit. And like I don't know. But I don't know. But you tell me where we start here on this
yeah.
whole story. You were the tour DJ with LMFAO in the golden days. That's you right behind the naked man named Red Foo, right there.
Yep. Yep. In the Speedo. Sky's right there in his Speedo as well. Oh
Yep,
no, that's
yep.
not Sky. No, this is in Ibiza, I think. Yeah, this is in Ibiza, so Sky wasn't there. But yeah, those
That's
are
crazy.
a bunch of dancers in their boxers. Um, yeah, man. Yeah, it I think 2011 is when, like, the very top of 2011 Winter Music Conference actually is where it kicked off, where I joined. Oh no, I'm sorry. I think it was 2010, but I joined LMFAO and Party Rock, and I met the manager, who actually his mother's or his child's mother kind of lived around the block from me. Um, so we connected out there, and introduced me to the crew. And at that time, they were putting together a Party Rock DJ crew. This was long before Party Rock Anthem and all that. And I joined the crew, and then fast forward, the main DJ Air broke his leg playing soccer in Russia. It's on YouTube. It's pretty gnarly.
What?
It was like Party Rock versus a bunch of local Russian guys in soccer. And he broke his leg, so I was supposed to only replace him I was supposed to just have a short stint, and ended up being, the tour DJ moving forward. I think he didn't come back because he was just like, the tour lifestyle, man. It eats you up, especially if you drink. We, as far as I know, no one did anything hardcore drug wise. Everyone just drank. Redfoo wouldn't have allowed, even smoking weed. He wasn't a fan of that. But I think, we never talked about it, because once he was gone, he was gone. But I think the tour life ate him up. Just in previous conversations, he just always looked exhausted, and it's not a sustainable lifestyle. Um, so yeah, so that's when I jumped in, and at that time it was the peak of Party Rock Anthem, Sexy and I Know It. They were on top of the world. They were the biggest. They had the biggest songs in the world. They had the best party in the world, which was the Party Rock takeovers at Marquee, Party Rock Mondays, and before that it was Party Rock Wednesdays at
In
Dre's in LA.
Vegas, Marquis?
In Vegas, yeah. Marquee,
Wow.
the stars aligned. Marquee just opened, and we started doing once a month at Marquee. And Marquee kind of like, if you know your Vegas history, Marquee really pushed it forward and challenged the other venues to go big with EDM guys. So when Marquee opened, they had Cascade, Chucky, God, they just had a bunch of big names.
So Marquis
And
killed open format. I hate that for
yeah,
us.
you can blame that. You can blame them. But and then of course they had us, but they went big, they went hard, they were overpaying everybody, and then that forced Excess's hand. And Win was like, screw that, like, we're getting in on this. So they did what they did and brought in some of the Swedish house guys and Avicii, and so that's where it really started, like overpaying the EDM guys. And EDM at that time, electro pop was huge.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, we were doing that. We did that for a couple years, and then we went over to Excess for a few years, and then they split up right after that American tour in 2012. I stayed with Redfoo, so I in 2016 he launched or he released a solo album. I stayed with him, and the album was huge overseas. Asia went platinum. Europe, in some parts of Europe, it did very well. Some of the songs went platinum. So if you know anything about music as an artist, you'll probably if you make it in America, you'll make hand over fist money overseas, and it'll last longer. Like in America, your hit's only going to last for a year or two. You can only make so much money off that before the rate has to drop. But overseas, it'll double, and it'll last like 3 years. Like Party Rock Anthem, we were touring off that for years. So yeah, that's how I joined the crew. That's how I got into it.
Take me back to the tour, like, because a lot of people glorify that. A lot of people are like, I mean, myself included, I'd never been on tour. Looked like a great ass time. You know what I mean? Like, what's like a daily, like, so you guys are going from city to city, right? Party Rock Anthem is the #1 song, like, in the world. And, you guys are like touring around. Like, what's a life, like, what's life like? And like, what's daily life? You guys wake up, you like, you know what I mean? Like, when did you drink? You drink all day? You drink before the show, after the show? Did you like have a routine? You know what I mean? Like, was it on
So
buses?
I'll walk you through the routine. And if you've ever seen, what's that movie with Machine Gun Kelly's a drummer, for that hair band? It was on Netflix. Motley Crue. I don't know if you guys ever seen a Motley Crue movie. There's a moment where it kind of breaks down like this, minus the drugs and tearing up the hotels. So you wake up on the tour bus. You wake up in the next city. So essentially you sleep, and it kind of feels good to sleep on tour bus. You kind of get rocked to sleep like a baby. Your bed is wide enough to to just have a comfortable sleep. Some guys had sex in it. Comfortable, wide enough and comfortable enough to have sex in it. So so we get to the arena. Everyone, the buses unload, they set up the arena. I would go to catering, and they always had breakfast and lunch and dinner. So I would go there, and then you kind of have the rest of the day to do whatever the hell you want. You want to go check out a movie, you want to go do this or that, you want to go to shopping.
Fire.
Yeah, and all you can do, you just hang out in the arena. So I'm geeking out because I grew up watching basketball my whole life. Like half the kids in America, I wanted to be an NBA player. So, all the arenas were performing, and that's where I wanted to play, right? So I'm geeking out in that sense. And I would do laps around the arena to stay fit. They wouldn't open up the weight room facilities. That would have been really cool. But you get bored really quick. And so you play games with each other. You play pranks. You talk shit. You just sit and do nothing unless you have a side thing, a side project or something. At that time, I wasn't producing. It would have been perfect for producing.
Yeah, or even
all
producing
that time.
content, but it was so like there was no YouTube was like in its
This is
infancy back then and shit.
2012. No
YouTube
one's
was
like, I
around.
would blog. Blogs were big. I would blog my daily stuff, but
Like write it?
It wasn't anything that was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would type it out and show some videos. So this is the American tour where it was maybe two to three shows a week, and it was cake. It was so easy. Sometimes we'd get hotel rooms, and of course they'd be 5-star. I didn't spend any money. You get your per diem. You don't spend it because you're eating at the venue. I remember waking up, after a long night in Dallas, going to the American Airlines Arena, getting breakfast, and going back to sleep in my room. Going like, why would I pay like $50 for room service or whatever it is when I can just walk half a mile to the arena, or it's next door.
Yeah.
It's like the W's right next door. So that was an easy tour. It was amazing. One of the best experiences of my life. Like, we did live. The after parties were unreal. Every time the show ended. So these guys would drink. I didn't drink. These guys would drink, and they would be just trash, like just absolute useless.
Like during the show, after the show?
Before the show, they wake up at 2 p.m. or more, or even later. They do sound check, and then they slowly start to rally. Our openers at the time were Matthew Coma, Sidney Sampson, and this one, Sidney Sampson's Riverside song was huge. Matthew Comite would just penned a ton of hits at the time. He had so many hits, and he was writing for others that you didn't really know about.
Mm-hmm.
And Far East Movement, and Far East Movement had like a G6, of course.
Yeah.
And those guys were like family, like those are just the nicest guys. So they would open for us, and then we would get on maybe an hour and a half, and then after party. Either it's at a club where we got booked at a club, or we kind of created our own booking. If not, we would invite Red Fool would have us pick a bunch of girls in the stands, and they would come and do an after party in our green room with us. And then at some point you had to leave or you went back to the hotel. But yeah, then on to the next stop. Now that makes tour life sound glamorous and like the easiest thing in the world. And this is like you hope to get to experience these moments as a DJ. The ugly side of it is when we went to Europe immediately after, and they warned me, but there's nothing they could have said to really make me understand it. In Europe, in 2012, first off, the Wi-Fi signal in the airports in all these cities was very, very bad. So just imagine not being able to have Wi-Fi or fast enough Wi-Fi to do just your daily stuff, check the scores, text somebody, check in with your family, download music. That would take forever.
So you're buying the paper Wi-Fi every day.
Oh my, yeah, out there, yeah,
buying paper, yeah.
So I remember our European run was 7 weeks, once a week in Ibiza. We had a residency at one of the biggest clubs in the world, like size-wise, one of the biggest clubs in the world, and 4 days off in 7 weeks, and none of those days were near each other. I remember we didn't have a day off until week 3 or 4, but it was a show every single day. Get on the bus, go to the next festival, get on, and it would. And you would just, and then right after the show, or right after the festival show, let's say our set time was 6 or 7, you hop on, you get in a Sprinter van and drive an hour or two to the to the club because you have a set there. You get done with the club at 5, and then you got to catch up to the bus. So you either get on an early flight and you fly out a couple hours. And now you've caught up to the festival, the next stop, and you're going to go on in 4 hours. And you can't take any naps because there's music blasting. If you've ever been to a festival, it's loud as hell. You can't, and our couches, like would in our green room, like the Party Rock, not Food's green room, but our green room, you can only be able to sit 2 people on a couch. So you couldn't even lay out and relax. If you go to the bus, the bass is thumping, and you can't sleep. So you stay up and then you just rally and get ready for a show. And then it's back to the next club event. You drive a few hours out. This was nonstop. I don't remember sleeping in a bed very often. Even if we, let's say we flew to a show in the afternoon, we would land around 4 or 5. We'd have to go do sound check, drive in. Sometimes these hotels weren't exactly next to the venue. Sometimes we'd have to drive an hour from the hotel, go do a sound check. It's almost guaranteed they didn't have the right equipment, so we'd have to wait for the equipment to come in. We're 2 hours in sound check, just laid out on sofas and tables and wherever we can just relax. Equipment gets there, we get it done. Now it's like 8 or 9 o'clock. You can finally get back to the hotel again, which is another drive. You either have a choice you might have opportunity to take a nap. Again, you still don't have time to download or use the internet because the Wi-Fi is garbage. So you can't even really update your music catalog. You might have opportunity to take a quick nap, a little disco nap, and then you got to go get ready for dinner. And then dinner leads to the show. And then you get on an airplane at 6 a.m. and you kind of do it all over again.
Who's this tour manager booking all this shit? Seems like an
I think it's what Red Food wanted. It was just go, entertain, go.
Make as much money as possible type shit.
Stack it up, make as much money. If the opportunity's there, cool. You really have to seize the moment when you're on top of the world like that. Now, as you go, you can kind of create your own schedule. Hey, we don't need those shows. We don't want those shows anymore. The bigger you get, we're going to pick and choose, but it makes sense to just this stop is on the way. We might as well, go and grab 50K here or whatever he was getting, and then, keep it moving.
What
Yeah,
like
it was
speaking
very
about money
exhausting.
though? Speaking about money, how did that work? Like, so you got a per diem, and then did you get a flat rate per show? Did they pay you all up front for the whole tour? Did you get paid at the end of the tour? Like, how does all that work with money and just being a
Yeah,
DJ on
so
tour? You know what I mean?
so it didn't matter how many shows we did during this run. It was, I got paid like I think it was 2,500, let's say a week, and then after parties were 500. So it's
Per
pretty
after
good.
party.
Per after party. So it's pretty, after, and then the taxes, after, you got to factor in taxes. So it was pretty good considering I wasn't spending money. And at that time, like I didn't have my house, still living with my parents. So I'm just
Which is fire,
stacking
so you could
at
just
that point.
stack. Yeah, save a ton
Yeah.
of money.
And then after the year after, it was like 1,000 a show because he just changed the model of how everyone gets paid because we weren't lining up the festivals like that. We would be gone for a week or two and then be back home. But yeah, I believe that's how the pay structure was. Yeah.
That's interesting. And then there's
Yeah.
like a per diem, which is just basically a per diem covers
Yeah.
your daily expenses if you had them, right?
Yeah. It kind of made sense out there because, so I think per diem was like $45.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think it made sense out there because we always like we would, at least if we stayed in a hotel, breakfast was always taken care of, so we only really needed to feed ourselves for lunch because dinner was usually right before the show. We'd always have like some incredible meal, some fancy meal before the show, and then we had food after the show too. Like we would, I remember in the American tour, I think there was like Chipotle or McDonald's, like not the healthiest options, but it was something.
Yeah,
There was always food around, but in Europe, it was tougher because the food wasn't as good. And then you go to the airports and all you see are sandwiches and your options are limited, especially in the small city airports. And then sometimes you see flies in the sandwich, like display. In America, that doesn't fly, no pun. But, out there, different rules, I guess. But so yeah, in Europe, it was tougher to get a decent meal, something comfortable, and then that's, and then you're, everyone's tired. When you're tired, you don't eat well. When you're hungover, you don't eat well. So you can develop some really gnarly habits. I mean, I think there's even the dancers. There's a few guys putting on weight, even though you're running around every night. Still, you eat like hot garbage.
yeah,
It's, and you don't do anything else throughout the day. You just sit and stare at your phone and hopefully you pray,
definitely
beg to
unhealthy.
the internet gods that you get a decent decent reception.
Do you charge a per diem now for like shows? Like if you're traveling to Nebraska or some shit, or like you don't really do that? I know it's an
Yeah,
option.
yeah. I always ask for to at least cover dinner, and then some of them are nice enough to just leave their credit card on the room so I can grab breakfast before I get out of there.
That's
Um,
fire.
but yeah, yeah, I always put that in there. And they
So
usually do it. They usually, some of these guys, some of these venue owners, they own restaurants or they own a
true.
bar or something. So it's usually not a problem. Or they want to host you. They want to take you out.
Yeah, that's fire. So you would say like you learned a lot, like being on tour with LMFAO and stuff. Like you learned a lot about like just the behind the scenes working too and how to charge and everything. So now like when you do your own little like kind of like I don't know if you call it a tour, but I mean you DJ all over the damn place. You know what I mean? So you kind of like did a lot of that, get
Yeah.
influence from that. You know what I mean? As far as like what to charge, how to cover your, you know what I mean? Most people don't think about
Yes.
doing that shit. You know what I mean? And they end up
Well,
spending money.
yes and no. No, because we're talking about two completely different situations, like what you and I would do as DJs who show up to a club. If I
Yeah,
walked in with similar demands as LMFAO, they would laugh me out of the room. Um, you know, so but I saw the structure of it. I saw what it took to execute properly. I saw what it took, or what would happen if it wasn't executed properly. Red Fool was very detailed and expected everything to be done, executed and be done properly. So, if something was missing, it would kind of snowball because he'd find other things. Like now you sent him down this rabbit hole, and he'd be like, "What the fuck? Where's this? Where's that? Why aren't we doing? Why does Chucky get a green room and we don't? Like you kind of like the floodgates could they have opened up before, so you just kind of like stay out of the way.
Well, and Red Foo's dad is like Barry Gordy, right? Like,
It's Barry Gordy.
which is
Yep, the man
insane. So like,
himself.
he's definitely learned a thing or two from him too. I mean, he's his whole
He,
family's been in the
well,
business, I guess.
he grew up, or man, he's got such a crazy story. Obviously, he's got to tell his own story, but you would
Yeah,
think, oh, you're Barry Gordy's son. Here's all that you have access to anything you need in the music industry. You have access to money, artists, Michael Jackson. I think the Jackson Five lived with him for a bit, on their come up because and Redfoo was alive. Redfoo, I think he's like 52 or 51. He's something like that. So he's been around for a
from the
minute.
'70s.
No
Yeah,
disrespect. So he was So he was around for the thick of or a good chunk of Motown. But yeah, he's got a lot of those stories and hanging out with them. And Will I Am recorded the very first Black Eyed Peas album at Red Foo's house, at Red Foo's room, and Red Foo's even on the first Black Eyed Peas album because of that. And also
whoa,
this guy again, he lived in Bel Air. His dad lived in Bel Air. His mom wasn't too far, and he had access to everything he wanted. But he was making hip hop at the time, like in the early '90s. So he knew he couldn't make hip hop from his comfy, room in Bel Air. So he lived in the jungles, in LA. And back in the days, that song by Ahmad, like Redfoo produced that. And so he was making those songs out there and living in the jungles and really living like that hip hop, in that life in the hood.
that's
Um,
nuts.
yeah, so yeah, he's got quite the story. He's definitely got to tell, but a lot of he's got a lot of cool stories on coming up. But yeah, Barry Gordy is his dad, still alive, still kicking. I
Legend.
went to his house in Bel Air. They had like a Red Food coming home party, and went to his house in Bel Air. It's just insane, man. Like real quick story that the neighbor had a house, or there at the time, maybe in the '80s, I don't remember, but Barry had a lot of crazy wild animals on his ostriches and just crazy zoo type animals in his house, in his yard. And the neighbors complained about the noise. So, instead of getting rid of the animals, Barry just bought the neighbor's house. Like if that's not the biggest flex, you're like, you know what? How much you want for that house? I love these animals too much. How much do you want for your house?
That's so
Um,
fire though. I would do that if I had
Different
fucking
world.
money, man. I'd have a donkey. I'd have like an emu, just fucking vibing, just looking at you like when you come, like just have a
Yeah.
tiger. Just like imagine Arnold Schwarzenegger does that too. He lives in Cali somewhere, and he has like literally just farm animals. He just takes care of his farm animals like at all time, like the crazy, like not farm zoo animals. Yeah, like just literally
Zoo
like
animals. Yeah.
yeah, it's just insane. But
Yeah.
like so you come back from tour and the Party Rock thing kind of ends, right, and all that. And I know you said you end up going back on tour overseas in 2016, but like even before that, like were you able to like raise your rate and kind of capitalize as like the LMFAO DJ, or was it like a drop off a cliff? Like did like you know what I mean? Like how does that
Yeah.
work? Like how do you manage that after?
Yeah. It was a slow decline because so that big tour was 2012,
Mm-hmm.
2013 and 14. We're still traveling. Now I'm solo with Red Foo, or in the Party Rock crew. So we're still doing really cool parties, some of the coolest parties and festivals in the world. You know, milking the Party Rock anthem moment. And then 2014, he becomes a judge on X Factor Australia, and it's the biggest thing in Australia. They just like Red Foo's living out here. He's on Bondi Beach in Sydney. It was huge. It was the marketing was all based around him. So he's not touring. So okay, cool. I'm on my own. And I feel like around 2014, that's when I bought my house, and I felt like I was entering a whole new world of DJing because I didn't know any of the promoters, any of the bookers. There was a whole shift. There was a whole shift um, in just everything, new characters, new hungrier people.
Did you get hate
And
too? Because I would imagine our industry, coming from that, it's going to be like, oh, well, this guy's only getting a gig because he was with this guy's not, you know what I mean? Like, so there's going to be like an anti-culture there. It was like, you're just the LMFAO guy. Like, fuck this guy coming in here trying to get gigs, right? Because you weren't here when we were building it, whatever. Like,
well, I feel like because of the Mickey D show, DJs knew who I
true.
was. They I had that pedigree. I was like one of the guys, per se. So
Yeah.
I didn't really feel that. But Party Rock was starting to be laughed at. I like when Party Rock Anthem was hot, they made like 3 to 4 million in those few years each year off merch. Everyone, if you came from hip hop, it didn't matter who you were. You dressed up in the cheetah pit, or you wanted access to it. When we would do our Party Rock Mondays, it was like a Halloween party because everyone just came dressed out in 80s gear. Maybe you didn't have the leopard pants, but you had some neon shirt from the 80s. And it was, and the best part about all this is at the time Marquee just opens again, right? And everyone, they expect you to come dressed to the nines, come dressed to impress. Don't come in here with your street shirts and whatever. But on Party Rock Mondays, it's come as you are. We welcome everybody, dress however you want, because that's just the Party Rock way. So again, everyone is around the world is kind of like into the whole Party Rock buzz, and they're buying shirts and all that. You can find them in Macy's. And then 2014, you're laughed at. Like, we don't want you. We don't care for you if you're a Party Rock DJ or
It was a fad. Yeah.
hip hop. It was a fad. And in 2014, hip hop is back and it's strong. And we want
Mustard
the DJs,
comes out. Yeah.
yes, we want the DJs who have the dope hip hop sets. We're not really into the whole up-tempo EDM stuff anymore. Things have changed. And, LMFAO put a dent in the whole hip hop sales. Like, I might be off with this stat, but when LMFAO was at the top, hip hop, Interscope, I believe, because they were signed to Cherry Tree, who's under Interscope. Hip hop took like a 40% hit in sales because of LMFAO, because of Lady Gaga, Far East Movement, Calvin Harris, Rihanna, like all that movement was. And you would think you're making the label money, like the label should be happy. But when only one group is eating on the label and the rest are suffering, the label has a problem with that. So I believe they went out of their way to make sure, like, hey, we're going back to hip hop, and anything you submit as LMFAO, like, for the next album, which obviously never happened, but anything you submit, if it's not hip hop adjacent, we're not, we don't want it. And then ultimately, Fool got out of his contract with them and he did a solo thing. But yeah, so all this is happening really fast in 2014. And I'm struggling to get bookings. I'm taking anything and everything because, Red Fool isn't touring. I'm not with him. And there's just a whole change in cast and everything around the country. So, and I had to rebrand myself. I just had to do what I had to do. I had to take whatever I had to take. And it was very dark. It was very scary. I didn't have the local residencies. I know most DJs, like, can grab 300-400, a gig and do 3 gigs a week and they'd be fine and they can get by. I didn't have that luxury and in LA. Because I built my brand based off traveling and getting bookings around the country. So it was a struggle. And then Red Food jumps back into tour in 2016. So now we're off again. We're back to it. The money's flowing, everything's flowing. Now around 2015. And then 2018, I think, or 17, he takes a big break, but just because he takes a break, I can't, right? So it's back to it. I'm in a little bit better of a situation. Music is kind of opening up again. It's not so hip hop driven. And then I'm just doing whatever I had to do, rebranding. And I feel like right before COVID, my brand was on the up. I'm doing all these great spots. I'm starting to buzz again. And then COVID hits, and then, now we're here. But yeah, it was life after Party Rock was rough. Even the dancers, unless you were Red Fool or Sky Blue,
Yeah.
or you worked a 9 to 5 for Party Rock, like it was rough. It was really rough. You don't really know what you're involved in the thick of it. You're just going with the flow. You just know there's a party, there's girls, there's drinks. You're always fed. You're always taken care of. You don't really know anything outside of that. Some of these dancers literally came from the slums and didn't have a dollar to their name, and now you're on tour and you're making more money than you've ever seen in your life, and you don't know anything different. And now the tour just dropped you off, and
They
you're
just turn the faucet off and that's it. And now what? It's
yeah.
like you look around like,
Now,
holy shit, it's like a
what are you
blur.
gonna do? Yeah.
I can't imagine.
So definitely the ups and definitely downs in regards to Party Rock. But I think Party Rock right now is in a really good place because, like we talked about before in the last podcast, there's nothing new that's sticking. If you're 21, you want the Party Rock stuff. If you're 36, you want the Party Rock stuff. You know what it feels like. If you don't know what it feels like, you heard about what it felt like during that era. So during my sets, the Party Rock stuff works like a charm. I mean, sure, there's a modern day drop after Rihanna's vocals or after Party Rock Anthem, but it works like a charm. And now I'm doing Party Rock themed parties where it's like I show up, we have all the party favors from the old Party Rock days, the blow up animals,
Wow.
the glasses, the Red Food's face on a stick, and I throw them out throughout the night. And the beautiful part about it is everyone is there for one thing. They know what they're signing up for. If you go to an open format venue, you don't really know what you're signing up for, but you just go. You don't even think about it. You just, oh, okay, let's go to the Grand in Boston. That's just where it's at. Let's just show up. You don't really think about what you're gonna hear unless there's someone specific there. Let's go to Tao in Vegas, like whatever. You just show up. But when you have a Party Rock theme party, you're going to hear Kesha, you're going to hear Flow Rider, you're going to hear all those hits from that era that made you feel good. And you're just going to rage like the old days.
It's easier as a DJ, right? Like just doing the set,
I have
tough because you got to figure out what open format's going to work for that crowd, right? Like, you know what I mean? Whereas like if they're coming for a theme, you just I'm actually doing a theme party in a couple months. It's a 90s party, and I couldn't be more excited because like everyone's going to come for that. I don't have to think. I'm just going to I have all these folders filled with every type of 90s shit. I'm going to wear an obnoxious outfit. And you know what I mean? I'm just gonna vibe out. It's just like I don't know.
All the theme parties are taking over. They're much more fun. I don't know why venues haven't dedicated at least one Saturday a month to a different theme or the same thing. It's what makes money. It's what makes the most sense. But yeah, I don't know why it's not a thing, and it will. But I think it will become a thing. Why not the first Saturday be Party Rock Saturday, and then the next Saturday be reggaeton, and then the next Saturday be hip hop, and then the next, you know what I mean? Like, why not do it like that if you're struggling to get people to come to your night regardless? It's going to take some effort on the marketing side to have 4 different, kind of pushes, 4 different kind of flyers and idea, I guess marketing plans, but I think it's a lot better than just throwing it in cruise control and just hoping people show up,
Yeah, I agree. And it's just, you got to get away from I don't want to talk shit, Afrojack and Cedric Gervais, all those guys are really nice to me, but the whole producer bringing them in for all this money. And then that's what all these major clubs do. If you don't have a hit song, you know what I mean? We don't want you there, with very few exceptions. And they don't it's always just a big name and then bottle service. I just feel like that whole model's getting old, and it's what's going to replace that? What's the next era of clubbing? What's our next 10 years going to look like? There's no way they're going to keep doing that shit. You know what I mean? No way. I can't see it. I don't know.
I have a few thoughts about that. One, I think the next era, which has always been the model, what value can you bring to the club? Sure, you're the best DJ in the world. Sure, you can read a room. Sure, you can do all these things, but are you putting asses in seats? Are you selling tickets? Are you selling tables? Because, again, I came up in an era where it was the thing to do. You didn't even think about it. The thing to do was bring in the best open format DJ, and there was clubs all over the place. So there were a ton of options, and it was just a trend, bringing open format DJs. And then clubs wanted to save money, and they say, well, what if we don't bring in open format DJs? what if we don't pay them their 2,500? Like, how's that going to work? Well, let's give it a shot. Oh, it doesn't work out bad. Our local guy, is really good or good enough. We don't need those guys anymore unless they're bringing value to the club. So I think the name of the game is bringing value to the club. And that's why I'm really focused on my production, because maybe, it's funny you mentioned those Afro Jackson, those guys. Maybe they're just charging too much. Maybe if they brought their value down, if they brought their price down, it would make sense. And I think the more music I put out, the more consistent I am. I think I can get to that level where you're whatever the rate will be. It makes sense to book Dainjazone for this price because he brings value to the venue. And on top of that, because a lot of these house guys, they don't know how to read the room. They just plug in and play what they want. Cool.
Mhm.
That's kind of what you sign up for when you book a house guy. But if you have an open format guy who has his own music, who brings real value to the venue, and he's
And
going
bring
to
people
read a
out.
room,
Yeah.
bring people that he's capable of reading a room. That's like, to me, that's the ideal situation for a venue, is finding the open format guys who really have the value and can read a room. Now, number two, I was going through TikTok and I came across, I don't even know who these guys were. They're British, but they said 10 years ago in the UK you had 1,500 clubs. Today you have 600 clubs. I don't know if and then I look around. I've looked at like old monthly blasts of where I'm going to be, calendars. And I'm looking at these venues and I'm just like, fuck, that club's gone. That club's gone. That club has a new promoter. They're not paying. They're still around, but they only want to use this small clump of guys. It didn't matter how great I did. They're going to use these guys. So but I look at all the clubs that aren't there and I'm just like, yeah, I don't know how much longer this club culture is going to last. Like, bars I think will always be around. Bars are open 7 days a week. So, and they sell food, most of them. So the model isn't going to be to just open a club. It's going to be open a restaurant that becomes a club, or have a bar and figure it out with them. And again, I don't know, like from a traveling DJ standpoint, again, 10, 15 years ago, you can make 2,500 on a Friday and 2,500 on a Saturday and 2,000 here, and it made sense to be an open format DJ and travel because you can really set up a future for yourself. You can buy a house off that. You can put your kids through school. You could really, those guys were making hand over fist money for, and they didn't have a song to their name. They didn't have,
Yeah.
they just got, marketed as good open format DJs and capable guys, and you had to have them. Today, you can't do that as a traveling DJ. You can barely do it in trigger warning, but you can barely do it as an open format guy who does stuff locally. You'll get by, and you just kind of have to figure it out. But yeah, it's not in the best place right now.
Yeah,
you need something. You got to find your value and be able to sell it to whoever. Like, if I want a DJ over here, I got to figure out my value, or you just got to know the right people. It's always going to come down to, do I know the right people? Because they're always going to have your best interests. It's obviously a lot easier if you know someone at a venue, and you can say, "Yo, man, just rotate me in, whenever you can." Whether people think you belong there or not, it doesn't matter. You got a guy there, and that's a part of the game. I know a lot of DJs shit on that. Oh, you only got in there because your boys are. Well, duh. That's a part of the game. That's how this works. That's how life is everywhere across the board. You got to know the right people to get in. And if you're smart, you figure out a way to stay in, whether people think you belong there or not, or whether people think you deserve it or not. It's just how it is.
No, it's very, very true. And it's just the more, the more DJs there are, the more competition there is. It's becoming very, very saturated. You know what I mean? There's like so many good open format DJs out there, and it's just like there's just so many of them. It just brings the cost down. And I think just DJing is fun in general. So like it's just one of those jobs where it's DJing is 90% part time. part-timers where they don't do it full-time, and then it's just such a fun
Yeah.
job that it's so easy for anyone just to be like, yeah, I'll do it for that. All right, that's cool. Yeah, no, just give me that. That's cool, because like it's a great time, and I'm just doing it on the side anyway. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
why
It's
our
very,
rate is
very
where it's at.
casual.
Like, yeah, it's just casual, and I'm in this weird spot because I'm trying to like build a following and all that, and like and trying to get into the bigger spots, but I don't have any of those hit songs, and it's just like I think like and I don't know if I have a hit song in me either. I never tried, but I don't think I got it in me. Like everyone says you might have one. Like everyone says everyone has a hit song in them, but like I don't know. I don't think I'm ever gonna find it. So it's just like like how hard, like how much do I push until eventually it's just like something pops or I can like provide value to somewhere. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
So this is a great topic. This is a great conversation to get into because I'm on the come up, just like most of these DJs, whether you're open format, whether you're house. I'm figuring out as I go. I'm doing what I think is right. I talk to Sac Noel every day, and he's quote unquote made it, and he's living really nice off the hits that he's had in the past, and he continues to put songs out every week, every month. He just won a remix award, and we talk about this every day. If it seems like, and you can't expect to put out this is what DJs do, especially open format guys. No, and I'm not taking shots at anybody, but you can't put out one song a year and expect your life to change. You can't do that and expect everything to change. You can't put out one video for your new song and expect everything to change. The way I see it is I make remixes and I make originals. The remixes, I use them as training, as practice opportunities. It's like going into a gym and putting up 300 jump shots. Like, I'm not saying I'm putting out 300 songs, but every opportunity I get to work on a remix is an opportunity to strengthen my craft and to get the originals to a desirable place, get the originals to a place where it's like, yo, I want to play your original in a song. Like, it's that good. I don't care if it's not signed to an indie label or whatever. Like, it's that good. But that comes with being in the studio every day, or at least every other day. Some of us have families and day jobs, or at least every other day, you have to, and watching tutorials over, like I'll watch the same tutorial 4 times just to make sure I get every little detail. When I have a reference track in a new song that I'm working on, I listen for the small details of that track, because that is what's going to separate, my song from the average up and coming producer, or that's what's going to put me in the same conversation. Better said, that's what's going to put me in the same conversation as a Knock 2 or Shine Giles or some of these other guys that are killing it and doing very well for themselves. Like, if I'm not saying you have, that's what you have to do. You have to become a producer to make it to the next. There's other ways of doing. There's other things you can do, but that's the lane I've chosen, and I think that's what a lot of DJs choose. But you have to put the work in. You like, there's no question about it. You can't put out one song in a music video. You have to lean in fully and just have this dog mentality of, fuck that. I'm going to get into this. I'm going to knock this out. I'm going to learn something new. I'm going to, like, if you were to listen to, I just released my latest song, Old School Vibe, on Friday. If you listen to that and compare it to something I did in January of last year, you'll hear the difference. I mean, what I did last year is still very usable in the club, but you'll hear the difference, and I hear the difference. If I don't hear the difference, then I'm not moving forward. But this is one of those things where you have to put the work in. You can't expect TikTok to take it from here after one song. And that's what I don't get about a lot of these DJs. Like, you guys schedule promo shoots, you go and hit the city and take pictures around the city, and you post it and you have some life-changing caption. What if you actually took that time to do stuff in the studio and did more of that than, trying to, take pictures, around your city and post that? I don't know.
You just got to look where the value's at. It's just all about, it's a value thing. Everything's value.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, having a new picture, it might provide a little value for you if you're going to be at a club. Obviously, I need to update my headshots, to be honest with you. I haven't done that in a minute, but
it's good for the moment.
The value?
Like,
Yeah, the value is you
If you-
produce a hit record, you produce a hit remix that helps DJ. Which, by the way, a couple things. First of all, maybe I didn't notice before, but congrats on the knowledge panel. That's huge. It took me forever to get a knowledge panel, bro. That's fucking that's a big step.
Oh, is that what that thing is called?
So it's called a knowledge panel. So this is from
shit.
what my
Nice,
research
thanks.
is. So you're a musical artist, and then you can claim that
Hey.
knowledge panel as well and change it. Like mine started. Mine just said artist at first, and I'm like, I'm a DJ. So then I actually claimed the panel, went through this whole process, and then I was able to change it to DJ, but it takes like 6 months. It's like, it takes forever.
Wow.
But this is the first step. Apparently, this is the first step. And then after that, you keep pushing, you end up getting a wiki. And then now all of a sudden it's like, all right, this guy, you Google your name and it pop, it's like, oh, this guy's fucking.
Yeah.
So congrats on that.
Right.
Number one.
Yeah. Let's go.
So I saw it when I was like Googling you earlier and shit. But, that song you just came out with, how'd you record the vocals in it? Like that kind of like it's almost like kind of a rap that and it
Oh,
goes into
it's
the
a
drop.
sample. Yeah, it's just
that's
a sample
Where's
I
that from?
found. Splice actually.
So you didn't have to get it cleared then because you got it from there, right?
Yeah, it's royalty free. Yeah.
That's
Now when you
fire.
look, what's interesting to me, I've gotta maybe send DistroKid an email, but DistroKid will, you can click on the option to have them search YouTube to see if anyone else is using your song and monetizing off your song. But if you have samples in your song, whether they're from Splice or ripped from the latest Kanye song, or just anything that doesn't belong to you, they will not be able to claim it. Now, I got to talk to DistroKid about that, but if it's
Okay.
royalty free, it should be royalty free. But regardless, Splice. But I want to get more into recording my own vocals, and manipulating the sounds, because I have the ideas in my head on what to say, but it's just a matter of getting better. That's another thing. Okay, what else can I get better at? Recording my own vocals, doing I think right now with bass house. I think bass house is it right now. I don't care who you are, what you're doing. If you're doing festivals, maybe techno and all that stuff works for you, and your name is David Guetta and your name is John Summit. Cool, that works for you. It doesn't work for the average open format DJ or even house DJ, because it's not as digestible and palatable as a bass house song. Bass house has every element in it. It's the modern day electro. It has
What's an example of it? Like, do you name like a song?
Dash Star. Dash Star by Knock 2. Everyone used that drop. They had a different, build up, and the lands in Dash Star. So that's probably the most popular bass house song in the last 2-3 years. But if you didn't know any better, you would just think it's an electro song. When I play bass house, when I play my originals, even because I eventually turned my originals into bootlegs. When I play the original, not the bootleg, when that drop lands, I get a reaction. And you guys don't know this song. I know you don't know this song. There's no Dainjazone fans out there in your average open format venue, but you're reacting. And it's like, oh, you don't even have to know the song. You love that drop, which is great. So
it's fire.
So
you're breaking records and it's working. That's unheard of.
Yeah, and that's the true indication of your song working or capable of working. Now, let me put a Rihanna acapella or a Kesha acapella over that bass house buildup, and when it lands, you're gonna lose your shit even more, because now you have a familiar element. But I think that the bass house sound works better than tech house. I think we've gotten so comfortable with tech house, we don't even know how to pivot out of it, because some of us don't even know what else is out there. But the bass house drops are it right now. And I don't know if it's going to become a thing where the big dogs lean into it, but it doesn't matter. The people will tell you what works. And when I drop a bass house song, whether it's Knock 2 or myself or Shine Jaws or whoever, that goes.
And that's a huge advantage too, as a working DJ who also produces, right? You can try your records out and actually see what works and what doesn't. Not every producer has that advantage. I feel they even you know what I mean. Producers will bring in Like even the big guys, they'll bring in outside people just to listen to their shit. Say, what do you think? Do you think this will work? Like actually working DJs and stuff. Because if you're a huge name, if you're Tiesto and you do a show, people are gonna vibe to whatever he plays. So it's not a good indication. Whereas like if you're kind of like, you know what I mean? Like you can really break records and be like, all right, that bombed. Maybe I need to fix that. Where did it bomb? Or where did you know what I mean? And vice versa. Wow, that went great. And I can just put. You didn't even know what this was, and you vibe to it. Like that's a huge indicator. Like that's a huge advantage as a producer. That's fire.
Yeah, and that's another. But that's another thing the open format guys have an opportunity to do is they can make their own music and test it every night. You know, they test it on the shitty speakers, test it on the great speakers. Like, I mean, you'll hear this as a producer. If you can make it pop and sound great on some crappy speakers on a crappy sound system, then you're in a good place because it's just going to sound amazing when you get it, to the function ones or when you get it to the festival stage. But yeah, man, like that's another perk for the open format guys that they have over the house guy who doesn't have access to venues.
Yeah, that's fire. Speaking of house systems, and you mentioned function one and all that, dude, is there like is it just Philly that like every place like doesn't have that great of a system, or is it like everywhere? Or
I don't know if I've ever spun in Philly, so I don't know.
But we gotta get you in Philly. Well, I'm spun in Philly. That's crazy. Well, there's a couple spots with good systems. Don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of them where it's just like it's just I don't know. And I'm like, why wouldn't they just invest in a solid system? And then you go out, like when I was in LA. Every place had a function one system. I mean, maybe I just went to cool spots where, but like every place we went to, like we went to Scam Summit last year, and we were at all the I can't remember all the spots, but like all that the Tao and the Tao group spots and all. Every spot had a highlight room. We went there. Yeah, ridiculous house systems everywhere. You go to Chicago, everywhere has a great house system. You know what I mean? You go even like Atlantic City, everywhere. Like obviously the main clubs have great systems, but like even like the bars that have good. Something about Philly, man. You go to Philly and they just got like QSC. K12s just hanging like it's like you don't even have like you literally have powered speakers like the amps the amps overheat and then they start sounding like shit when you go too loud later and everything like there's not even passive systems in some of these spots and it's just like
I think some of these cities some of these markets I should say just take things a little bit more serious than others. Like Chicago is a very music driven city, house driven and all that and all those owners they get it. And some of them are DJs, so they know what it takes. Like you're not going to open up the Dream Hotel and have a shitty system in the highlight room, so you're going to make sure that's top tier. And I think it's like that across the board. If you're in a market where there's competition and you have to take things serious, like imagine A-list celebrities hanging out in a highlight room and you got a Mackie plugged in, that's that vibe isn't going to fly with them.
That makes sense. I just want to get that message out there because it just makes you make the investment, get a bomb ass system. It's gonna set you apart, and then also you don't have to worry about DJ. You're gonna blow people's hearing before you blow anything. Like you're not gonna have to worry about the bullshit of replacing speakers or this getting blown out, that getting blown out. Like just you know what I mean. You're not blowing out a function one system.
Some guys, some DJs have a hard time getting the owner to get a decent mixer.
That's true too.
Like we can't even talk about sound systems if we can't get a decent mixer, and then the owner's just gonna say, well, all the DJs are just gonna steal the knobs anyways. I don't know if they still do, but that was like a big thing where knobs were missing at these venues on the 900 and the S9 or whatever. It's like because DJs just take them. I don't know. I don't think it's
something I noticed.
It was a thing.
Have you noticed in bars and stuff? At least around here, all the bars, Rev 7 seems to be the bar standard. Not the club standard, but the bar standard. Like every bar around here now has a house Rev 7, and I love the Rev 7 personally, and I think it sounds good too. It's like it's a solid controller if you're going to use a controller. It's probably the best controller. Until like Rain comes out, whatever they're coming out with, but yeah, it seems like the Rev 7 became the bar standard, and then the A9 is slowly becoming the club standard. Like if once the 900 breaks,
I can't use an A9 for whatever reason. I think because I can't update my Serato on my MacBook Air. When I tried, it just didn't work. So when I tried plugging into an A9, it just didn't work. So I can't use A9s. But some of these house guys will tell you, it's just too much, man. Like we don't need all that. The 900 Nexus 2 is perfect for the house guys. It's definitely great for open format. Like, I just don't need all the extra stuff. Maybe James Hype does, but Pioneer always tries to push a bigger, more expensive, fancier, mixer on you. It's just like, no, we don't need that. Chesto maybe, but we don't, And then for whatever reason, the bars will buy that instead of just an S11 or a 900. Like, why?
I wish
why
they
don't
would
you
buy an
listen to me?
S11.
I'm trying to tell you.
Oh, S11 should be this. I don't understand why it's not. It sounds great. It's just everyone can use it. Like, who is saying that? Oh, well, I don't want an S11. Like, it's easier. I personally, the 900. I mean, I can use it and it's fine, but like, it just the effects just piss me off because you have to. It literally takes a half a second to sit there and assign it to the right deck. You have to plan out your effects ahead of time. If you like, sometimes I'm just like, you know what, fuck it, I'll reverb this real quick. Like last minute, you cannot do that with the 900. You can't do it. You have to assign it right. You have to turn it on. It's such a pain in the ass selecting the echo and I hate it. I fucking hate it. I think it's the most stupid design. I told the Pioneer guys that too. I was like, "Who designed this shit?" Oh, some guy. And then, I'm like, and I said how stupid it was, and they're like, "Yeah, well, that's funny because we sold like 3 million bajillion of them. So like, what do you know, wedding DJ?" I'm like, "Yeah, you're right, but
yeah, it's not for us." I've gotten used to it. Like if every opportunity I DJ is an opportunity to get more comfortable with the equipment,
Yeah,
so
sure.
Now I'm at a point where it's like, all right, I'm fine with the 900. I prefer an S11, but I'm fine with the 900.
Yeah. You play on sticks yet? You have a gig yet where you have to play on sticks or no?
I could do a party rock. Yeah, I could do a party rock theme set on sticks, but I just, until I get CDJs and I really lean into practicing, usually my decisions are last second and I can't fly on the sticks like that. Maybe some of these guys can, but I'm not confident enough yet to be able to pivot and drop this instead of that, or know my library so well on a 300 or 3000 screen to be able to get to it quick enough. On a laptop, you can see like this many of your songs, so I can just get in there, quick scroll, and then find what I needed and get it in time. But the way I mix it's like we talked about this before. I can plan a set out, and then nope, this one actually sounds better right here instead. Let me throw this in there.
No, 100%. I'm petrified of like that being the standard. Some people are saying that that's going to be the standard. Like a lot of these high-end rooms, like the look of not having a laptop. It's all about aesthetics, and then there's plenty of DJs that play on sticks. So it's just like this is going to be the new standard moving forward. If you don't know how to play on sticks, you're not going to be able to get booked at the cool spots and yada yada yada. And it scares the shit out of me because I could plan out a set and just be miserable and play it on sticks. I could do that. If I plan something out and it's like maybe 2 hours or something, it's a theme like you said or whatever, I can do that. But like if I'm just working a room, I'm just being open format, I am so all over the place. Like there's no way. I don't know how I could do it. I honestly don't know. I would die. I would literally, and there's so many times. There's probably every set I do, like this past weekend, each set I did, there was probably 5 or 6 times where I picked the song I was going to play literally with 2 bars left of that chorus. And I literally just dropped it on the one. Like I was just like, oh, don't fuck it. Like literally with a second to spare, let alone like there's no way I could do it. I'm petrified of that. If that becomes a standard, I don't know. I'm gonna lean into. I'll start stand up comedy. I'm just gonna start going to open mics.
Yeah,
I'll start telling dick jokes.
A lot of the chit chatter is mostly just DJs trying to get ahead and be first to the change, and it's just. A lot of what DJs say is just nonsense anyways. It's, we're all trying to be heard and we're saying anything to be heard. So that's like, I'm not even on Twitter. Like I'm not on Twitter anymore. Like I just haven't posted in so many months, but that's what Twitter kind of became for me. It's just DJs just complaining and talking about nonsense. It's like, yeah, I don't, and they, they made it hard to really be seen on Twitter now, unless you have a check mark, a blue check. So like, you got
to pay for it.
It's
and all
just
that.
Too much. Yeah, and look, that's fine. You got to do what you got to do, but it's if I just don't care to build on that. I'm building over here on Instagram and on TikTok, and for me, I know certain guys they get a lot of opportunities from Twitter, and that's great, but it's just not for me right now.
Yeah, same. I have a Twitter. I recently made one just because I want to be able to read Twitters without, you know what I mean? Like, or read Twitters, read tweets.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it pops up and says, oh, you got to make an account. You can't read no more type shit. So that's when I think I have like
Oh,
3
yeah.
followers on my Twitter. Nobody, like, I don't even promote it. But I've been using Threads. Threads is all right. You know what I mean? It kind of works.
Okay,
hand in
yeah.
hand.
See,
Really
I
easy.
gotta like remember there's a threads in post like because you can take
If
your
you just got
Instagram
something
stuff,
on your
but-
mind, yeah, toss it on there, see what happens. You know, because
Yeah,
it
you're right.
bleeds from your Instagram. They've been promoting the shit out of it. I think I have like 50K on Threads, so it made it easy.
Nice.
You didn't have to really build it up. They wanted it to be an extension of Instagram essentially, so it's pretty easy, and the engagement's not terrible. The algorithm's not terrible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll put a thought there every once in a while. You know,
Yeah.
little. That's what I was thinking when I was taking a
Something.
shit today. A little something. You know.
Yeah.
But it's tough navigating content, man. You gotta check out. You ever hear Connor Price? I've been like yanking
that
that
seems
dude's
familiar.
ideas. Yeah, dude, this dude
Cool.
makes he's a producer and he promotes his records in the most unique way. He has these crazy videos where it's like multiple angles of himself, like multiple people. Like he'll play like different
Oh,
characters.
I've seen him. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then you know what I mean? Like I've been doing it. I've been doing Instagram videos. I'm like 3 videos deep now of like kind of doing similar, only like with like I'm using it for all the dumb wordplay ideas I come up with that I could never ever possibly use live. You know what I mean? So then I'll have me talking shit on me doing this, and the last one I
Yeah.
just had me like chopping onions. I literally
No,
bought
those are funny.
yeah, I just thought it's just
Yeah,
something.
those are
I kind
good.
of took it from him and this guy Riz, who does these like crazy reactions too. Like he does like this gangster rap over like I don't know. Anyway, but it's interesting though, and it's like kind of fun to make. It's easier than you think. You know what I mean? Like these kind of like videos. Like the next one I'm gonna do this week. Instead of chopping onions, I'm gonna have myself in the corner. I bought knitting needles. I'm gonna be knitting I'm just gonna be knitting a fucking quilt. It's like it's weird. And I was just knitting a quilt, and I'm just gonna be sitting there with glasses, knitting a quilt, like just so stupid. But like I don't know, I've been enjoying it.
Ridiculous. No,
Yeah.
I think no, I saw those videos from you. Those are great because maybe you do have this fire idea, but it involves like Baby Shark or something that you're not going to.
And what are you gonna do with that? Yeah, like I'm gonna get kicked out of the
You
club.
won't even do it. You won't do it at a wedding. So
Oh,
so
no, yeah.
This is where I can flush out those stupid ideas that I know are hilarious and be well received.
Yeah, 100%. But yo, real quick, how did you with Mickey D's and all that? Like, how did that come up? Like, how'd you guys like? Because that had to have been 2012. You started doing that, like way back in the day, right?
No, that was like 2010, I think, 2009.
I
Actually, I
feel like
think
it was so long
2009.
ago I started watching that show.
Yeah, so at the time, Bezo, you remember Bezo?
Mm-mm.
So there's a website, bezo.net, maybe.
Oh, and they have EDM shit and all that, right? Bezo.
It was mixes. You load up your mixes, and then they had, so it was a site dedicated to DJs loading up their mixes, and you pay a small fee. And
Yeah,
and then they
Beehive.
had-
It's still around now, but you can literally you get dropped. I think it's once a quarter. You can and DJs check it out. It's bezo.net. Once a quarter, they essentially you get this huge zip folder full of like all of they curate all the best remixes and all the best everything like house type shit. And you would.
I didn't even know
download
it was
I was
still
subscribed
around.
for a minute. Yeah, it's still around. 4.0. I was subscribed for a minute. I ended up canceling it because it's just like I don't use a lot of it. Like I'll every quarter I'd get like one song out of it maybe, and I'm like, ugh, and I'd forget to download one quarter because it wasn't like consistent. It's like an interesting way they did it, but yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, they I didn't even know it was still around. That's funny. But so Bezo was a thing in loading up their mixes, and then Mickey and I went and told DJ City like, and we already had our relationship with them. We say, hey, we want to do something where we're hosting and doing our own thing, like as personalities. So they thought it was a good idea, and so that's really as simple as it came about. We kind of did the first 2 on our own, and it was like a podcast in its own right because we talked about up and coming music. We played like 30-minute sets each. I think we had like Baby Drew on once from ATL. Then we had Play from the UK. And then it was like, and then, Quickie, the main guy, DJ City, was like, all right, like I'm starting to see it. We're going to get behind you now. And actually like, we kind of have to show that there's something there in our very, amateur way. And so they got behind it. We built out a room at the time. We built a room, like a
With the brick
mixing
and everything,
room.
right? The original, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and which was a bad idea, but whatever, it was fun. And so we, our first guests were Fashion, I think Sprite, maybe Steve Wonder. It was just a bunch of local LA heavyweights,
Yeah.
and that was like, oh shit, like what is this? And then we had the chat room too. Like we started off on Winamp, and then it transferred over to, I forgot whatever we were using, but whatever was hot at the time. So then we had Stone Rock, and we just hit the ground running once we had those guys, and then we got Echo, and then Vice and DJ Rev, and we slowly start to build. Like that first season lasted forever. I think it lasted like 8 months, and then we needed time off because we were doing it once a week, and then we
Mm-hmm.
said, all right, we're gonna like not do this once a week, more like I think we went to once a month. But at that time, we were getting A-Track and Craze and Zach and man, we really wanted to get AM. We like, I remember AM being a big part of like, we got to like get it right so we can get AM. And then we knew if we can get Vice and Rev and this guy and that guy, we brought Scene out, we flew him out, and Cubert. We knew if we can get the right guys, we'd be able to get AM, but then he passed away. Um, but yeah, so we had just the cream of the crop, some of the most talented ITF winners, DMC champs. I can't remember all these guys' names. And yeah, and then right when COVID began, which was that March of 2020, we had DJ Wonder set to fly in from New York to drop a set, and then COVID hit, and then Twitch took over, and then that was the end of that.
So you
Because
guys did it for 10
essentially
years, over 10 years.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And essentially what we were doing on the Mickey D show became a thing on Twitch. So it was a great run. We managed to make it work with all our schedules because I was touring. Mickey opened up a shoe store, and we figured it out and made it work. We had to switch a few different locations, but no, the chat room was the best part because everyone was just in there having fun, connecting with each other. Like maybe you were a huge fan of DJ Scene, and you didn't really have access to him outside of social media. And obviously he was probably, who knows if he would respond, but he was in the chat room. And so you'd be able to like talk to Scene and connect with him there. And in the moment, in real time moment where DJs are doing something fly and you're reacting to that, like, oh my God, like that was, so that, and the chat room was really the best part of it all. Yeah, sure, we had the most talented guy right there, but the chat room was lit. It was so much fun. But we wanted to like introduce, like, sure, you had social media, you had Twitter at the time, and Twitter was the only thing at the time. MySpace was out, Instagram was starting to bubble, but we wanted to connect those big names to the community, and then have those big names talk about, tell their stories to connect with the community and blah, blah, blah. So it was really cool and kind of ahead of its time, and thankfully
I think so too.
DJ City powered it. Without them, we couldn't have done it. Like a lot of guys, there were guys that tried doing stuff like that, but just fell off because it was exhausting, man, to keep it up. You're not, just like podcasts, you're not really making money off of it. So there's got to be some other force to drive you to, keep doing keep doing it.
Yeah, and it was ahead of its time. I mean, if any DJs listening, you guys are watching, whatever, like definitely go back and like binge some of the old. Like I think it was the first of its kind.
Will stand the test of time.
Yeah.
Those routines, because they're incredible. Like to this day, I still can't do most of that shit that was done. Like, you know what I mean? Like there are ideas that were genius, and it was more than just playing a mashup. There were some real incredible ideas and routines. Some guys put routines together specifically for the Mickey D set, which, obviously was a treat for all of us.
So fire. And they broke it down, and like just even the camera angles, you can literally, it's just like you're standing over the shoulder of them and like literally watch them do it. Like I kind of credit that show for showing me, like I learned so much from that show, just like oh, that's how that works. That's how they did it type shit. Like, it lit up a lot of light bulbs for me, and that kind of motivated me, like seeing like Zach and like seeing all these guys come up in these crazy routines. I'm like, okay, I need to come up with my own shit. Like, this is possible. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because when you come up, especially like in the 2000s, everything, there wasn't a lot out there. There was no, you can listen to an AM mix, and like AM showed me a lot of things were possible too, just hearing that stuff. But like otherwise, I don't know.
What was all you had was an AM mix.
That was it.
Yeah.
That radio mix he did in L.A. The
Power 106. Yeah.
Power 106. That was the 20 days of Mixmas or something like that. That was the one. I was like, whoa. I mean, a lot of people too. I mean, everyone heard that mix. I was just like, oh my god, I could maybe I could do this at a wedding. Let me figure out how to do this with PC DJ. Hold on. I didn't have fucking records.
We had Just Blaze. Was it? Yeah, it was Just Blaze? Yeah, it was Just Blaze. We had Just Blaze. And he previewed a few unreleased songs at the end of his set and kind of talked about it. Like, oh, this song's unreleased for Snoop and this. And that went viral in the hip hop community. All the blogs, like, you're on whatever Source, XXL, whatever the website, whatever the blog is, Two Dope Boys, and you see my face with Mickey's face and Just Blaze's face. Just Blaze previews new unreleased this and that.
Did you have the lineup then? Did you have this mean ass lineup? I hope you had that. Hold that line. Look at that hairline, bro. Impeccable. That hairline is impeccable, bro. You look like a Calvin. You look like a Calvin Klein model. Look at you.
You know what's funny? I look at that hairline and I think of Steve Harvey, because for the longest I used to think Steve Harvey's hairline was the illest, and then I found out it was like a wig. And I'm like, I thought his barber was just the best barber in the world, but someone told me, nah, it's like a wig that he just.
You had the best hairline in the world. Little did you know you had it the whole time. Look at that thing. Look at that. I'd never seen anything like it. That is just impeccable.
2009 promo shots, baby.
Right there. See?
Yeah.
I was dying Googling you, bro.
We're in a different space now with this hair.
the evolution. At least you still got it, man. I'm hanging on for dear life. We're all hanging on. We still got our hair.
Yeah.
Can't complain.
I'm getting into the silver fox look. Like, I have no problem. Like, people think I dye my hair. It's like, oh, man, like this is all me. Because I guess kids are doing that now. That's what kids are doing. They're dyeing their hair.
Really?
Great. Huh. Yeah. That's why some people have asked me. It's like, nah.
That would be my luck. Grays in, and I have no grays. It hasn't. I noticed my mom has no grays, and she's like 63. And I'm like, what the hell? And she's like, yeah, no, never got grays. I'm like, what? So I think I don't think gray runs in my family. You know what I mean? Because I haven't had a single, and I'm 35. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it should be coming at this point. I've had stress.
I remember seeing my gray hair. I remember seeing like 4 gray hairs come in my senior year of high school. So I knew.
Whoa.
Like this is gonna take over real quick, a lot sooner than I'd like to, but it's all good. Booking older DJs is in now more than ever. Again, I was talking to Sack, and he said he did some
Zach Seidman or Foreclosed.
Oh no, Sack Noel.
Oh, Sack Noel. I'm sorry. Okay.
Sack, yeah. But I was talking to him. He said he did this festival in Finland, and he noticed all the names were like names that are established and older. And he said, "Did you guys mean to put this group together like that?" And kind of, because it looks like a throwback type of set. He's like, "No, these guys still go. Like, these names do better than the new names. So why would we go out of our way to book someone new just to say we have someone new? Like, these older names are it." And it doesn't matter if they have anything new. Obviously, a lot of them do, but people want to hear the older stuff, which kind of brings us back to our conversation of older songs working today, and just building your sets around older sets, and then peppering in the new Cardi or peppering the new this or that or whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's actually promising, I guess, then. You know what I mean? So the longevity in the careers.
I think you have to follow the trends, right? And usually the trend is whether it's hip hop or EDM or drum and bass or whatever it is for your venue, usually the trend is play the newest of that. But what we're seeing here is something we've never experienced. You're not playing the newest of that. Playing what you're doing now is you're playing the oldest of that because it works. So you have to restructure your thought process and say, or maybe even flip it on its head and say, okay, I have to stop playing new stuff because this is what works. So let me gear my set towards playing the older stuff because I'm just going to piss people off if I play new stuff that they don't know. So you got to follow the trends. That's what the trend is right now, is playing older stuff. And then 2, 3, 5 years, maybe that changes. Maybe music is back in a good place where you can play open format, newer open format songs, and everything is fine.
Yeah, because you had a good point last time you were on here, just talking about how record companies aren't, they're not funding these club hits. That's not what they want. They want a viral song on TikTok, like, you know what I mean? Like, so like all these,
Yeah.
even Beyonce's album, there's nothing. Obviously Texas Hold'em works, and if you got a good remix or whatever, you know what I mean. But like, beyond that, man, there's really not much on there. Like all these albums are just disappointing, man. I'm just like, ugh, where's the club back? I mean, thank God Kanye and Carnival, but like, nobody likes Kanye or whatever. But like Carnival hits. Great. Oh, I got like 14 word plays with that shit. I just don't know which one I like better yet because like obviously O is in every song, but yeah, that shit hits every time. And then all the ladies of hip hop all hit. Sexy Red is just like, she don't miss, man. That Get It Sexy is so hilarious. I heard it and I was just like, oh man, it's a Sexy Red song. Let's try her out. And sure enough, Get It Sexy.
Yeah. I mean, number one, you got to do what the girls want. Bottom line, whether it's Sexy Red or an old Rihanna song, like you got to give them what they want. And something I mentioned in one of my latest Patreon posts, especially because in LA you get a lot of Hispanic crowds, and the one thing that works wonderfully with the Hispanic crowd, obviously reggaeton, but if you really want to mix it up and have fun with it, play the old Rihanna songs, play the old up-tempo Flow Rider stuff, play the old Kesha, like, and on top of that, emo, like, because I remember like when I was growing up in the late '90s, you were hardcore hip hop. Like where I grew up, it wasn't like the safest, but it also wasn't like wasn't like running home from bullets or trying to get away from shootings or anything like that, but you really had to know where you were and what was going on around you. So, and I went to school with those kids. I went to school with gangsters and cholos and all that, and hip hop was in hardcore. Maybe you were a fan of Jay-Z, Memphis Bleak in that little era, but if you're Hispanic, that's what you're into. And then somewhere down the line in the early 2000s, even mid, Hispanics stopped doing whatever they were doing, whether it was sports or whatever it was, and they picked up a skateboard. They started wearing tighter jeans. They started having the Gorillas look. They had the haircut. And so all these kids, like, they love Mr. Brightside. They love the Killers. They love all that. So they grew up on it, but we just don't think about that because we think reggaeton, we think Bad Bunny and Daddy Yankee, if you want to take it back. But when I play the emo stuff, Hispanic people love that stuff. When I play Rihanna's and Calvin Harris hits, they love that stuff.
Huh.
So just because you're doing a Latin party doesn't mean you have to like stick to Latin stuff.
Or, you don't have to play Suavemente. What emo tracks do you play? Like what are your go-tos?
I got my laptop open this time. I wasn't prepared last time.
Oh, you do? Look at this. I would have asked more music questions. I didn't even know you had it open over there on the sneak.
I should have told you. So, obviously you're going to do Mr. Brightside.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else do I have? Not the best organized. You're going to do Panic at the Disco. I like to loop the Ramones Blitzkrieg.
Like I Write Sins.
Let's go. Yeah, I Write Sins. I love playing the hook of Stressed Out by 21 Pilots.
That's a good idea. I never play that.
Santeria. Let's see. Bored. No, I hardly play Bored to Death. Ride by 21 Pilots, because that's a nice sing-along moment. What's My Age Again?
Ooh.
And then there's Ocean Ave, of course.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Yeah, I think those are my for sure go-tos. And you know what else? This isn't that genre, but SZA's Kill Bill. Drop SZA's if you're in a room full where it's like women friendly, women heavy. Drop
Uh-huh.
scissors, kill Bill, and just let them go.
Really?
I posted a video DJing Southeastern Bar. Now this was a younger crowd, college crowd, but and I played this song like around 11:45, maybe 12. It was early in my set, but around peak, getting close to peak. And I just dropped Kill Bill, and they went crazy for it. And in the post, I said, "What songs are you dropping that we should know about? That's a sleeper, essentially." So not only does that post show how well the Kill Bill works, but there's also a bunch of comments of other DJs sharing. So yeah, dig that up on my Instagram. But Kill Bill, like that's a good one.
That's far. I've never played that in my life, to be honest with you. So good to know.
Yeah,
I'm gonna add that right to the crate.
Sugar, we're going down. I think Paramore works
Yeah.
too. The Misery Business, yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Taylor Swift stuff. And you know what else? I don't know how much time we have left. I think we got to wrap it up soon, right? Um, something else I noticed, and I posted about this. I was DJing in Singapore, and it was a very young crowd. It was at Marquee, very young crowd, and the video shows me playing Taylor Swift's "Trouble," and they're singing it. And so it's a big moment. You see, it's got the professional camera scanning the crowd. And then when I was looking back on this video, I'm really looking at the crowd. I'm like, they're not really dancing with each other like guy, girl, guy, girl, guy, girl. Like kind of like how we came up going to clubs and meeting people, meeting girls and whatever. Or
Yeah.
what you see in Vegas, yeah, like, hey girl, what's up?
Yeah.
So
Follow the booty.
they're out there in cliques and clumps.
Interesting.
And they're singing to each other. There's like four friends around, and they're trouble, trouble. They're singing to each other. And when they don't know the song, they got their drink in their hand, and they're on their phone, just going with it, like And I thought, okay, let me do some math here. They're not, and I thought about my set for the rest of the night. The songs they weren't dancing to were hits, but they just didn't know it. It was like it was a pop heavy set. The theme of it was pop music, old, new, no remixes, just pop. And they didn't know some of these hits. Maybe there's an age gap, or maybe they just whatever, they didn't know. Like I played a few NSYNC songs, and they didn't know what to do with it. And I was like, oh, get out, get out.
Yeah.
But my point is, they're in clumps. And then I thought back to some of my sets in the States, and I'm just like, damn, they're in clumps over there too, and they're in clumps over there too. So I'm thinking, like, what's the future of DJing? It's not so much making the guy girl dance with, Crazy in Love or whatever, or hoping for the next Crazy in Love hit to make the guy and girl dance. It's giving them the moments to be with their friends and sing along. And that's why, like, your clubs are turning into bars. Sometimes you'll hear people say, oh, that's like a bar set, I wouldn't play that. It's like, well, guess who's taking over your cities? Guess who's buying out your clubs? Guess who's getting your clubs out of here? It's your local bars, and you have to adapt to the times and what's going on. Maybe you're too good to play Bon Jovi in a club, but guess what works? Bon Jovi. Maybe you're too good to play a Taylor Swift original like Trouble or Bad Blood, but guess what works? Those songs. And they're not dancing with each other. You have to start to think about your sets as if you're trying to make groups of people dancing and singing to each other, not making two individuals dance with one another. Maybe but you can even look at hip hop. If you go to an all hip hop venue, no one's really dancing with one another. You're rapping the lyrics. You're just there. You're vibing with your friends. I mean, sure, you're going to get these certain people dancing with each other, especially if you're trying to holler at a girl or whatever, or maybe you're out on a date. But what I saw and what I thought back to my older sets within the last 3 years, people are dancing in groups, and you should start tailoring your sets to give them the sing along moments and give them the opportunity to dance with each other as a group. You can still go back to the classic, like the 100 BPM house party joints of Crazy in Love and all that, and people will have fun with it, but they're going to want to sing to their friends. And I think that's how we need to start thinking moving forward.
Yeah, more of that really open format, like not quote unquote club music, but like just like to the hits, like the real hits, like the not like don't overthink it and try and be too cool. You know what I mean? Like literally like play the wedding shit.
Go like I said before, and I said this. Well, I said that in the last podcast is you need to start treating your sets like wedding sets because that's what people want. But like I just said like 20 minutes ago, what's the trend in the moment? The sing
Yeah,
along stuff is a trend in the moment. Why do we fight it? You'll keep people in the club. They'll have a great time. You send people to the bar. When you try to push your own agenda, play songs that no one really cares for, but you're playing just because it's like you're playing it just because it's a new song, people
yeah,
will lose interest and they'll leave. Like, what's the trend? What's happening now? Everyone's in clubs singing to their friends. Cool. Let me put together a fire sing along set. And also pepper, like when I say that, people think I mean straight sing-alongs, don't give them a break. No, you need to continue to have fillers. There's always you'll always need fillers no matter what the trend is because people need to catch their breath. They need to go get a drink. So you
sure.
mix in your fillers, your cooler songs. Some of you like to push songs they haven't heard. Fantastic. Mix those in between your Taylor Swifts and your Bon Jovis and all that, and you should have a solid night. But that's the trend, man. I don't know why we fight it,
Yeah,
or maybe
I
we're
mean
just not thinking.
the biggest reactions I get are from those songs. And oh shit, I dropped my headphone. Hold up. Yeah, oh shit fell right out of my ear. That was embarrassing. Hello. Can you hear me? But yeah, biggest reactions I get from Taylor Swift or like I've been playing like "Boyfriend" by Justin Bieber, "One Time"
Mm,
by Justin Bieber, like shit like that. You know what I mean? Like where it's like when they were in middle school type stuff, like the early 20 people were in middle school. It just goes off. I'll play that shit peak hour, and it's not. These aren't peak hour hits, but like if you can, you know what I mean? Like that those are the biggest
yeah.
reactions I get now. And if you notice the trends too, which is kind of crazy, there's not a lot of like massive nightclubs really opening up. It's more just bars like Barstool, for example, is making they have a bar concept, and there's one in Memphis, I think, there's one in Philly, there's one where it's basically they serve great food and it's like somewhere to watch the game and yada yada, but then it has multiple rooms and it turns into a nightclub later. Huge house system, fire, doing it right, DJ booth. You know what I mean? And then that's where you go out later too. Wicked Wolf is another brand that's like in Philly and it's in other places.
Okay.
Like there's these brands that are they're setting up these huge bar restaurants for during the day. They turn into clubs at night in all the major cities. And I think that's kind of where it's going instead of just like a club that's open,
No.
10 to 3 a.m. 3 nights a week and that's it. Like these are like actually like, you know what I mean? It's a better business model too
Unless
because
you're
they can make money.
unless you're in a you're 100% right, and it's pretty much over for clubs unless you're in a casino, unless you
Sure.
just have that name brand recognition where you can pop up in a city and open up.
Yeah,
Um,
like your towels and marquees and yeah.
Yeah, but see, even Tile had to adjust outside looking in Chicago. They opened up and they were bringing in the usual traveling guys, but now they're more local, and those guys are great. Those local DJs
Yep.
are fire out there, so they get it
Yeah.
done. The Tile saves money, and everyone wins. But no, you're right. You just don't expect if you want to be a traveling DJ, don't expect the rates you think you can get. And what I mean by that is like you'll probably get as much as 1,500. Some of these spots are very generous and they'll get you 2,000 or 2,500. But don't I imagine, and I know for a fact in some cases, and I won't put any DJs names out there, but some guys are walking into the club from another state and collecting 500, and they're losing.
Mm,
They're losing at the end of the night.
mm,
But they can justify it by making it look like they have a full schedule. They can justify by posting about the venue, and maybe something comes from that. Maybe if I do Barstool in this city, the neighboring city will see it, or I can just build a relationship with these guys, and then maybe they'll start using me for their events. You always have to have like you always want to have a play involved to expand outside of that. But the traveling DJ to get like a decent rate and something you can live off of, it's really really rough. Like you really have to have your own thing to sell.
Unless you can pack the place out, and but it's very, very hard to get to that point. But that's my goal. I mean, one day, I don't know. Paulie D does it consistently. You know, he's a good
It's
DJ,
possible.
crushes the room, but like
Yeah.
he will if Paulie D's there's a line around the. I don't care if it's Monday, Tuesday. That's why he gets his money. You know what I mean? And like, but it's easier said than done. You know, it takes a record or lots of viral videos or a combination of everything. I don't know.
Let me make myself clear. It is 100% possible
Yeah.
to fill up a room with just your name. You just have to figure out what your strengths are, what you're going after. Again, most DJs naturally transition into producing. So cool. And then with producing, you can become like popular on social media and build a following there, because your following on your listenership through Instagram and TikTok will get you to Spotify. Spotify's, it's not the other way. It's not the flipped around, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's where you need to focus on with your videos and whatever it is you're doing. But it is definitely possible to bring value to your name and travel as a DJ. You just everyone just has to figure out what works for them. And on top of that, you have to give it time. This shit ain't happening overnight. It may take 3 years or 4 or 5, but you build relationships and you build your brand, and all of a sudden things start changing and happening. So it's definitely possible. Another thing is theme parties. If you have a bunch of friends, you guys are young and you love going out and you kind of have a little bit of a following, create a theme party, sell the idea to the club, break even, figure out how to do marketing on advertising on TikTok and Instagram, and create your own. There's no one can claim. I mean, unless it's Party Rock, because Red Foo owns the rights to that. But no one can. If you wanted to start a '90s theme party, you can do that tomorrow. If you wanted to start a Taylor Swift theme party, you can do. No one can say, "Hey, that's my thing" or whatever. No one can say that. Taylor's not going to get out of her $1 billion chair and say, "Nick Spinelli, stop using my name." No one's going to do that, at least for now, unless these Taylor Swift theme parties go crazy. But I think it helps her, and I think she knows that. So why not, if you're an up-and-coming DJ, why not start your own theme party, get in good with the venue, and start building? It's going to take time and energy and learning how to use advertising, but that and then with your theme party, you expand. Now your name has value. Now that big club in the city that you've been wanting to get to, they see you and they say, we're going to book you because we think you can bring that followership with you to our venue. Now you are of value to us. Before we have 20 dope DJs in the city. We don't need another dope DJ. Mm-hmm. Now you have that followership, and then you can expand it. You can make it a travel thing. You can go to the cities the smaller cities outside your city. Like, it's endless with theme parties. All it takes is just like kind of figuring it out as you go.
I agree, man. A lot of DJs made it that way too. That's a great idea, especially if you're young and all your friends go out. You know what I mean? It's tougher when you're like our age, I feel like, because we don't have as many. All our friends are like, you know what I mean, doing the family thing. Like, it's like, I'm not gonna, but yeah.
If you get like our age, if we got with the younger group, like, hey guys, like, look, I got the experience. This is what I bring to the table. This is what you bring to the table. Let's come together. Let's put, and we all split it. Like, I know the Altura party. There's a bunch of people involved. The Altura party started off in downtown Vegas, I believe, and then now it's doing live, in Vegas, and now they have their own weekly in downtown. They have their own thing. It's traveling. They're selling out everywhere they're going, and there's like, to my knowledge, like 5 people involved in that. Like you build it. You get the right people together.
And there's so many too, barbecue and ribs, and R&B barbecue and ribs, R&B and ribs, and all those, 100%, man. Well, I think it's a perfect note to end it on. Thank you so much for coming again. All Dainjazone's links are in the description, by the way, guys. His Patreon, his socials. I linked your YouTube too, and all that. So definitely follow him on all the socials and everything. Your Patreon's fantastic. Definitely, I got to copy your new song. I'll drop it for you. I'll give it a give it a whirl. Give it a whirl.
I'll send you the link. I'll send you the link, but for the listeners, it's definitely on my Patreon. It's for free, and I left the acapella and instrumental there because I want to see some bootlegs, man. I think it's like one of those songs you can make a real dope bootleg to because the drop is that good. So I want to see some shit.
Yeah, I'll definitely fuck around with it. But yeah, man, appreciate you, bro. Thank you as always.
You are everybody. The man. I appreciate you.
Oh, my pleasure, man. Definitely stay in touch. All right, bro?
Yeah, for sure.
Later, man.
All right, guys.
All right, people. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this beautiful Tuesday. We'll be back next week as well. I believe I do have a guest next week. I got to check the schedule. I take it 1 week at a time. But I appreciate you all for joining me. Stay current with all the socials, everything. And as always, have a great week. Enjoy your weekend. Crush your gigs this weekend. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.